radio program, and coming to you live every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. on the News Radio Orlando network, along with 96.9 The Game. We're also one of the top 25 financial planning podcasts on the World Wide Web. My name is Joel Garris. I'm a certified financial planner, certified financial fiduciary with Nelson Financial Planning, where our team of certified financial fiduciary stands ready this week to help you change your life with a successful and cost-effective financial plan that produces superior results and provides you with peace of mind for the future. So without further ado, here's the chart. See, I'm holding it up and you can't really see it. So now I got to describe it. All right, so this looks at political control and the markets going back to 1926. And it breaks it down based upon the performance that happened when you had certain political scenarios. So, for example, when you had a Republican president and a Democratic Congress, the S&P 500, should have brought my, these numbers are much smaller than I saw, 6.6%. Should have brought my cheaters. And so, the Republican president, Democratic Congress, 6.6% was the return during that period of time. And then if you have the White House and Congress controlled by the same party, interestingly, you do a little bit better, 11.4% as the annualized return for the S&P 500 during those periods of time where the election split, if you will, is a White House and Congress controlled by the same party. Interestingly, the worst scenario is if you have a Republican president and a split Congress. There, the annualized returns 0.9%. I think part of that skews that data a little bit is that's a combination that history has not seen that much. And then we come to the two scenarios that have produced the best possible return during the particular political combination. And in number two place is a Democratic president and a Republican Congress. 15% is the annualized return for that particular time. And then lastly, we come to actually the number one, meaning the best performing combination of what the market did going back to 1926 versus what the political split was. And here it is. It's a Democratic president and a split Congress. That appears to be the soup that we've got for the next couple of years. We'll see if these numbers hold out, but history tells us, certainly when you look at the chart, right? Then that's the best combination, 15.6%. Hopefully I'm reading those numbers correctly. I didn't realize that when I was preparing for the show earlier today that I think I had my cheaters on, so there you go. Now I don't. Anyway, that's a pretty good combination. So before you throw your hands up, start ringing them too much, understand gridlock is good. And I think based upon the results in this election, you will not see any big significant movement one way or the other, which that level of sort of certainty or lack of uncertainty really helps the economy and businesses to sort of make decisions along the way. Speaking of decisions, you've got some big decisions that you need to be thinking about when it comes to your retirement accounts. The calculus on retirement accounts and what you can do and how you strategize your retirement really got upended earlier this year with the passage of the Secure Act. And we really haven't talked much about this, and I don't think the world is really focused on this issue that much, simply because, you had the pandemic that laid on everybody's doorstep like the next month. And the reality is, of course, that's very much with us. We can all talk about politics and, kind of what the split is and all that. But I think most importantly, let's not forget the reality here is that you still have a pandemic going on. Cases and case numbers are spiking. And I think a lot of what the next administration, the next Congress is going to have to deal with is the fallout or is the play out from that and what you need to do to help, because it's very specific in terms of the sort of the damage that's getting done. It's happening in certain sectors of the economy. Meanwhile, other sectors are doing just fine. It also is impacting traditionally lower wage jobs as well, versus tech jobs or engineering or professional jobs. Those are not as affected during the course of this pandemic. So that's going to be a real issue that the folks in Washington need to wrestle with. Obviously, when the split is this close, Democrats versus Republicans, I think you'll find that what happens winds up being something that might be more middle of the road, because you got to have both sides sort of agree to it. But the Secure Act passed earlier this year, Republican Senate, Democratic House, Republican President, and again, not much analysis on it yet, and I think that's just starting, but we're starting to really see where our traditional advice that we would give people in terms of how to use their assets or what type of assets to use in retirement really gets flipped on its head. And so let me explain where the issue comes from, because it is a significant departure from what had been the rules in place regarding retirement accounts for 25 years, 20 years? I mean, a long time. I mean, it was a pretty established, this notion that if you inherit a retirement account, that you get to spread out the distribution of that retirement account over the course of the rest of your lifetime. So that's pretty significant, right? So if I inherit a $100,000 retirement account and I'm 50, I have to take a certain amount out. Usually it's around 2-3%, but then the rest of it can sit there to grow on a tax deferred, tax compounded basis, which obviously becomes pretty powerful over the course of the rest of my lifetime. If I'm 50 and I inherit it, I'm going to live, good Lord willing, average life expectancy, 50-year-old lives to 80, that's 30 years. That's a tremendous vehicle that you now have that's tax deferred and growing on a compounded basis. And so what the Secure Act did is it eliminated that option altogether. And it basically said, you've got 10 years. You've got 10 years to get all of that money out of the account. And what that in essence does is it certainly accelerates the payment of taxes on that sum of money, and it doesn't allow it to compound on a tax deferred basis for that long of a period of time. So what's interesting on that is that really does have some pretty significant ripples in terms of what the tax implications are on it. And so we think that there are some very specific things that you need to be doing differently. And we're going to talk about 3 or 4 of them and how they might impact everyone in terms of sort of the approach. So when we get back from the break, we're going to take a break. And when we get back from the break, we're going to get into some of the very specific examples that you need to be thinking about as it relates to your retirement account and the new rules under the Secure Act and how to best address them to be tax efficient now, not enough to be just tax efficient for you, but also to be tax efficient across generations. So it's gotten a lot more complicated as a result of the Secure Act. But we'll be back with some examples of some things that you need to be thinking about here, coming up next here on Dollars and Cents with Joel Garris of Nelson Financial Planning on News Radio, WFLA, Orlando.